Thank you very much, Julie, for your introduction, and thank you everyone for coming today for the talk. First of all, I want to say that I'm not an expert on this subject. No, I'm not expert on Chinese drama because I did not study drama before. I studied history for my undergrad, and for my postgrad, I studied art curating. But I curated this exhibition because personally, I like Chinese drama, and I have a 93-year-old grandma who also likes Chinese drama as well. So that's what makes me to make this exhibition and to show more students the ancient collections in the Fisher Library. Today we will talk about the Orphan of Zhao, an influential Chinese drama. You might ask a question, why is it influential? I think there are three reasons. First is this play was written by Ji Junxiang in about 1330 AD, so it was a long time ago. And the second reason is because this piece was the first piece of Chinese dramatic literature translated to a European language. And there are 5 European adaptations in the 18th century, 2 in English, 1 in French, 1 in German, and 1 in Italian. And lastly, the Fisher Library has 2 very precious adaptations of the play, one by Voltaire in 1755 and one by Arthur Murphy in 1759. So they are both there. So it's very precious, original play in the 18th century. So you can have a look after the talk. And in today's talk, I will focus on the original play by Ji Junxiang and its adaptations, especially the Voltaire's version to explore a special type of cultural communication. So these are the cover of the 2 books over there. Let's talk about the original play. The playwright, Ji Junxiang. Little is known to Ji Junxiang except that he was the author of 6 plays. Most of his plays are lost. So with only 6 plays to his credit, Ji Junxiang cannot be compared with other famous playwrights in the Yuan dynasty, such as Guan Hanqing, who is an author of 69 plays in the Yuan dynasty. And about the story, this play is classified in the 杂剧 genre of Chinese drama. So 杂剧is a very typical genre in the Yuan dynasty, and it was written in around 1330 AD. And the play is divided into 6 parts. It consists of 5 acts. In China, we call it 折, and 1 xie zi. Serve as a prologue here. It was not common for a 杂剧 to have 5 acts. The conventional number is 4 for the 杂剧, so this one is like an exceptional example to have 5 acts. So let's talk about the story. So the story begins with a military leader. His name is Tu Angu, and he is a military leader, and he is determined to kill his political rival called Zhao Dun. And Zhao Dun is a great minister, and Zhao Dun has a son. His name is Zhao Shuo, and he is married to a princess. When Tu Angu determined to kill the entire Zhao family, the tragedy happened. The princess gave birth to a baby boy who became an orphan. And Cheng Ying, a faithful friend and physician of the Zhao family, saves the life of orphan by concealing him. but he sacrificed his own son by telling Tuangu that, oh, this baby boy is the orphan, but actually he hid the orphan, he sacrificed his own son. So this is a very sad story. When the orphan is brought up by Cheng Ying and he reaches his manhood, the truth is revealed, and he seeks vengeance for his family and kill Tuangu in the end. So this is the summary of the play. And there's a movie on YouTube that you can find about this original story. How authentic is this story? What are the sources? To find an answer, we must go back to a famous Confucian classic called Spring and Autumn, 春秋, in which is recorded the story of the Zhou kingdom. There are 3 commentaries, of which the best known is the commentary of Zuo, the commentary for this book. And that would be the ultimate source of the Orphan of Zhao. Besides the commentary of Zuo, the story of Zhao family can also be found in the historical records, 史记, written by a famous Chinese historian in the 2nd century BC, Sima Qian. Overall, there are little doubt that Ji Junxiang, the original playwright, was indebted to historical writings, and particularly to Sima Qian for the story of the orphan. As I mentioned before, the Orphan of Zhao has the distinction of being the first Chinese play to be rendered into a European language, and a very rare Chinese play that has left an imprint in Western drama. So the journey, it's a long journey, but it began in 1731 when a French Jesuit missionary called Joseph-Henri Plumet, he translated the Orphan of Zhao and introduced this to the world. Why he did so? One explanation is that the spirit of self-sacrifice which the play exemplifies must have appealed to the Jesuit scholars or other Christians as a noble virtue. So he decided to translate this play and introduce to the Western world. And after this translation, this play was officially published in 1735 in the 3rd volume of Jean-Baptiste Duhaut's. I can't speak French, but as you can see here, his book is called A Description of China. So this is the first time that the Orphan of Zhao being published. And after the publishment, the story was well received throughout Europe because at that time, in the 18th century, Europeans are very interested in Chinese culture, literature, like arts, decoration, etc. It also provides new angles to European writers for their drama writing. So it's a very successful published book. And after that, in 1741, William Hatchett published his own adaptation called The Chinese Orphan and his historical tragedy. So one of the most important changes made by Hatchett is the shortening of the time duration in the play. So in the original play, Ji Junxiang designed the play lasts for 25 years. So it's very long. So it lasts for the whole, for the orphans from when he was an orphan until he grew up as an adult. So it's very long. But William Hatchett shortened the time duration and focused on the revenge in the play. And in 1752, in Italy, another gentleman called Petro Metastasio. He published his own adaptation. So this is Italian. It's a 3-act dramatic poem. But this adaptation contains very little of the original. And this adaptation set an example for later adapters, including Voltaire. So now is Voltaire's turn. So one of the books is over there, published in 1753. As you may know, Voltaire had a long admiration for Chinese culture, especially of Confucian's philosophy, and he wanted to prove the power of morality. However, Voltaire had a very low opinion on the dramatic form of Chinese drama. It means that he appreciated the message of the play, but he did not agree with the theories or the dramatic forms or the dramatic patterns that the Chinese playwright use. So I will discuss Voltaire's adaptation in details from 2 angles. Firstly is his criticism on the Chinese dramatic form. And secondly, I will talk about the philosophical purport of the adaptation, his appreciation on the message of the play. So let's look at the story first. So instead of a tragedy of revenge, Voltaire changed the play as a moral piece, and he introduced a person called Genghis Khan. You might have heard of him. He is a very famous Mongolian conqueror. And before he conquered China, so it was a Chinese monarchy, and the Chinese monarchy had a royal orphan. So the royal orphan was entrusted to a general called Santi. He is a Chinese official. Do you think he will sacrifice his own son in Voltaire's play? So that is the main change in the play, that he didn't do so because he has a very virtuous wife called Idam. When his wife reproaches her husband for his cruelty by having the idea of sacrifice his own son, instead of sacrificing their own son, Idam came to see Genghis Khan. And Genghis Khan found out that, Idam was the woman that he loved before. Before he conquered China, he loved his wife. And he tempts her to leave her husband and become the Chinese queen. But he was refused by Idam on ethical grounds. Then she went to prison. Now the fate of her husband, her son, and the orphan all depends on her answer to Genghis Khan, if she will say yes or no for his love. And this woman, Idam, is resolute to the end. She didn't change. And then she had an idea with her husband by saying that we might commit suicide to show our commitment to the original Chinese monarchy. So when the suicide about to happen, Genghis Khan intrudes into their presence, and he was moved by the virtues of them, and he pardoned all in the end. So that is the main differences between Voltaire's adaptation and the original play. So the Genghis Khan was moved by the virtues. So virtual become the best strategy which can be developed by any conquerors, and Voltaire has the idealism that virtual will conquer all. And as a brave conqueror of China, he was conquered in the end by the virtue of Idam. So that is the change of Voltaire compared to the original story. So why Voltaire made this adaptation? It was because he criticized the Chinese dramatic form. Because the Chinese drama failed to observe the principle of three unities. So the three unities is originally from Aristotle's Poetics, and it requires a play to have an action occurring in a single place and within the course of a day, so within 24 hours. But the original play, written by Ji Junxiang, was too long. It lasts for 25 years. So Voltaire was annoyed on this point. And also he criticized the intermixture of dialogue with songs, which makes the drama even longer. So he rewrote the Chinese play according to the rules of classical French drama and changed the period within a 24 hours period and centered on the saving of orphans. So according to Voltaire, he advanced the Chinese drama from dramatic infancy to maturity by using the classical French theories, such as the three unities. But as I mentioned, even though Voltaire criticized the dramatic forms of Chinese drama, he appreciates the philosophical ideas or the message behind the play, which is about virtues. Voltaire calls the original play the morals of Confucius in 5 acts. So it exemplifies at least 3 traditional Confucius virtues. First of all is Zhao Dun, the grandfather of the orphan. He is a righteous, faithful man, but killed by Tuangu. So he demonstrates the concept of zhong, loyalty to the ruling family. And secondly is Cheng Ying, the friend and the saver of the orphan. He saved the orphan and sacrificed his own son, which demonstrates his loyalty towards his friends. And lastly, the original play demonstrates xiao, filial piety, because the orphan seek vengeance and killed Tuangu in the end. So that demonstrates the concept of filial piety. But in Voltaire's adaptation, he changed the play as he exaggerated the message of virtue to a higher extent. And Genghis Khan was not only a conqueror of China, but he was also conquered by the wisdom of the general and the virtue of his wife. And he intended to inspire people at that time with a love of virtues. So the success of Voltaire's adaptation was not only confined to France alone. The play was acclaimed widely among Europe. In England, by the middle of the 18th century, Voltaire became an instrumental force in the drama. And in 1756, Arthur Murphy wrote his Orphan of China. And his play closely resembles Voltaire's play. So we have an original editions over there as well by Arthur Murphy in the 18th century. In conclusion, it must be said that The Orphan of Zhao is one of the very few works of Chinese literature that have influenced European writers, and it was the earliest Chinese drama to be known to Europe. And in the hands of Voltaire, it has become a moral comedy rather than a historical revenge, and he embodied in the adaptation his admiration for ancient China, for Confucianism, and his confidence in the triumph of morality and civilization, and a realization of his dramatic theories such as the three unities I mentioned before. And finally, from all of these adaptations, from all this long journey, we can conclude that the European adaptation of the Orphan of Zhao in the 18th century were determined by different perceptions of China of the authors at that time. I think that's the end of my presentation. Yeah. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? I wanted to ask myself, I'll just come out and ask.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if within Chinese culture, is this playwright well known, or has he fallen into obscurity over time within China?
Yeah. I think he is little known, not well known in Chinese literature. I haven't heard of him before I researched this play. So I think in the Yuan dynasty, the most famous playwright is called Guan Hanqing, and he was the first playwright being researched by Western scholars. So Ji Junxiang himself is not well known, it's not famous, and most of his plays are lost. So only this one is remained in the history. Yeah. And in the Yuan dynasty, the social status of playwright were very low. Because the Yuan dynasty, it's a dynasty that focuses more on military, and they don't appreciate the Confucius ideas. And the Confucius scholars or the literates, the people who wrote literatures have a very low social status. Yeah, and yeah, not only now, but back to that time, they are not well known as well.
Jenny, very interesting topic. Can I ask, according to your knowledge, has the European adaptation of that over been translated by Chinese?
So the question is, have the European adaptations being translated into Chinese as well? In my knowledge, I can't see any. Maybe, but not in an official book about the Yuan drama. You know, we have the dictionaries of the Yuan drama, and then the drama was the original play. It's not the adaptation written by Voltaire or other author. But as I mentioned, my knowledge is very limited. So it might be, maybe like someone published it. Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah. This is a very good question. The question is the a play being performed now in China or in Greater China region? The answer is yes, especially in Taiwan and Hong Kong. They still perform this drama with their own adaptations. Yeah, so unfortunately I haven't, but I want to. Yeah. I think it has a very long life from the 18th century up to now. It's still growing. Yeah. It's not an orphan anymore. It's a very mature adult. Yeah. 杂剧 genre, yeah. This is a very good question. The question is, what kind, in terms of 杂剧, what kind of genre it is? Is it a tragedy or a comedy? This is a very good question because when I'm doing this research, I found out that in Western culture, I'm not sure if I'm right or not. People usually divide drama between tragedy and comedy. But the distinction in Chinese drama is not clear. So most early Chinese plays are either comedies or including humorous parts, but we don't divide it as tragedy or comedy. But you know, like in Chinese drama, humor does not prevent a play from being sad. So it's not a huge distinction between tragedy and comedy. And but in 杂剧 itself, this genre is very popular in the Yuan dynasty, and its typical characteristic is called 一本四折. What does it mean? It means like 四折 means 4 acts. Usually it contains 4 acts. 一本 means the songs accompany the drama is usually 1 to 2 songs, the tunes. So it's very strict. Most of the Yuan 杂剧 will follow this principle, 一本四折, 4 acts and 1 tune. And when history passed, in Qing or Ming dynasty, we developed another genre called 明清传奇. What is 明清传奇? It's basically from local, like different province will have their different drama. Like I'm from Guangzhou, my local drama is called Cantonese opera. So it's more localized, like different plays will have their different local drama. So it's like from a very strict pattern, 一本四折 in Yuan, and developed into 明清传奇, a relatively loose pattern and more diversified, more diverse in terms of the contents and in terms of the singing styles, more diverse.
Songs that are in that genre, do they go out of that genre and into culture and have other lives themselves and other histories?
Yeah, so the question is, the songs in the 杂剧 genre, will people sing that beyond the drama itself, or will it be used in other plays? The answer is yes, because the song is a development of something called 诸公调 in Chinese. 诸公调, translated into English, is it's like a pattern that you followed. Not only one play can use it, other plays can also use it, but the content that you sing will be different. Yeah, I think that answers your question. Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay, please join me again in thanking you.
And lastly, I think if you are interested in this story, The Orphan of Zhao, the quickest way for you to know the whole picture is to watch a movie called The Orphan of Zhao by a famous Chinese director called Chen Kaige. And you can see some famous Chinese faces in the movie, Fan Bingbing and also Ge You. They are very famous actors and actresses in China. So search on YouTube and you can watch the movie. Yeah, thank you.